passed their own bill. That was the Alaskan National Guard to deploy to the southern border, which would include Texans. As many people are claiming, it's routine, this happens all the time. Yeah, the last time it happened was 5 years ago under Trump, and it was 10 is in 14 states basically had a meeting. All their governors came together saying, we will secure the border against the Biden administration. Joe Biden has threatened a deadline. Does include Texas as part of their deployment. Naturally, there are already attempts to claim this is nothing, don't worry about it, but it's a grain of sand. And I think it's probably bad precedent. But we'll talk about that. Plus, well, I want to talk about this rumor of RFK Jr. running the Libertarian tickets, and maybe, and then I want to talk about Michael Rappaport, leftist comedian, well, liberal comedian who he's not a leftist, he's a liberal, absolutely hates Donald Trump, has now made several videos talking about how he's going to vote for Big Dick Donald Trump. So we'll talk about him. He's a funny guy, but he's very liberal. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com to buy the best cup of coffee you'll ever have. Look at this, Alex Stein right here screaming.
That is really good coffee.
We got Alberto Jr. We did not realize how popular and how delicious everyone would find this coffee. I knew it was good because we all worked together to make it. And now once the people have discovered just how good it is flying off the shelves. So if you want to support the work that we do, we sponsor ourselves. You buy Cast Brew coffee at castbrew.com, and you support the work we're doing. We're going to be having an event at the new location for the coffee shop, probably March 5th, for a limited number of timcast.com members. So don't forget to also go to timcast.com, click Join Us, become a member to get access to the uncensored members-only show Monday through Thursday, 10 p.m., and you get to join the Discord server. And now the best part. We're doing our first event at the Cast Brew coffee shop location. Second floor, it's a separate club. And we're going to have about 50 tickets, super low-key, but we're going to be likely doing maybe even once a month live in person in Martinsburg, West Virginia. But it's a private thing. It's just members only, not a public event. It's a private-only thing. And so make sure you are a member at timcast.com, because when those tickets go up, our members will get the notification first. And as a member, of course, what does membership get you? Aside from access to uncensored shows, as a member of the Discord, you can call in and actually talk to us on those uncensored shows, and you're making all of it possible. You'll also get access to those ticket sales if you want to come and hang out, but we really do appreciate everybody who supports our work, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else.
Try to get a destroyer.
What's going on, Tim? Thanks so much for having me.
Battleships on.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm the host of Break the Cycle with Joshua Smith, live in the evenings on YouTube, and I'm a candidate for president of the United States for the Libertarian Party.
Right on. So this should be interesting. We got Phil hanging out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Bonanti. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary.
And Libby's hanging out.
Hey guys, I'm Libby Evans. I'm hanging out.
I'm an anti-communist too.
And of course, sir, just pressing all the buttons.
Yes, I am back. I am here. It's good to be back. I also see a friend of mine across the table here.
Yo, I made it back. I'm back from Miami. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. I feel good, man. I got out of town. I went to Miami, and I'm like, yo, you want to talk about a culture war? Being in a place with a bunch of people that you don't necessarily agree with, and you're not the one curating who you're going to hang with, and hanging with them for any long time anyway, and just being with those people, that's like
son of a bitch.
It's really invigorating.
I was just in LA for a week.
And so was Libby.
Yeah, I was in California for a good stretch. I was in LA working with Prager on something, and then...
Did you step in any poop?
No, but I did keep saying to my son, hey, hon, don't step in the poop. Hey, watch it, don't step in the poop.
Yeah, a lot of poop.
So we were in LA and San Francisco, and we had a spectacular time.
Me and Allison were hanging out at MGM National Harbor all weekend, and I had some stories earlier in the day about this Trump derangement syndrome guy, but there was another guy who was a fairly liberal guy who was like, I don't like Donald Trump, you gotta vote for Biden, blah, 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 but he was complaining about the poop. He was like, he's like, have you seen, they got this the social media app where you can see all the poop, and I was like, get it. Why would you want to vote for these people?
It's really poop and death. It's like two things.
They get the 30 knots, like snap of a finger.
That's right. True. Gavin Newsom, they wanted to cover the whole state in poop. So
let's jump to this story. We'll kick it off with this Huffington Post headline. It's a betrayal. Republicans go ballistic over bipartisan
I don't ever
bill
try
they
to score
demanded.
high in these. I just try to
This
win.
is the game. Everybody who
I'm
knows
normally
anything
about
about politics
80,000,
predicted
100,000
exactly
range,
this.
most generally.
Biden comes out and says,
Lately,
I
I've been
need
support
a new law to
politics.
secure the border.
Hanging out in
Republicans
the
and Democrats in the
30,000
Senate
area.
come together and locked in, nailed in, bang. And so when House Republicans are like, yo, no, the media, of course, was always going to say the Republicans are lying, obstructing, and this was part of their plan. Donald Trump wants chaos.
From 0, I'll get to 30 knots in no time.
The reason why in the House they're calling this bill dead on arrival and they won't vote on it is because they're terrified of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump wants chaos so he can win the election. It is the long con. But here's the reality. We've got this post from Mike Lee, U.S. Senator for Utah, who says, the dirty dozen disasters in the so-called border deal codifies catch and release, allows up to 1.8 million illegal aliens to enter before temporary closing off parts of the border. It funds sanctuary cities and NGOs sending illegals around the country. It subsidizes free, taxpayer-funded legal counsel to illegal aliens. It expands parole instead of limiting it. It increases green cards by 50,000 per year for 5 years. Work permit for adult children of H-1B visa holders. Immediate work permits to every illegal released from custody after they pass an initial screening. Nothing to deport illegals. Afghan Adjustment Act creates a pathway decision for over 60,000 poorly vetted Afghans who were brought to the country due to Biden's disastrous withdrawal. Weakens asylum screenings by codifying Biden policy. No immediate funding for the wall. And now, I love how Mike Lee said this is bad for the border. What it doesn't mention is $60 billion in funding for war in Ukraine.
Yeah, that needs to stop.
I know there's, what, $14 million for funding for Israel.
74
and shut the border down.
74
Sorry
billion
if nobody likes that.
Between Ukraine and Israel. So, and that's, it's the whole bill.
Without a border, you don't have a country.
So, I mean, you're talking $20 billion for border, and then it's basically a war powers bill.
Yeah, it's a foreign wars
bill.
Funding act.
$0, zero laws, and zero policy for border security.
Well, and the craziest thing, and Libby and I were talking about this before the show started, if you read through the bill, and I don't know why Mike Lee not bringing this up and other people, but there's a portion of this bill, there's a provision in this bill that gives the right for all of these things to be heard in the D.C. District Court going forward. So
yeah, that's right. We found it.
Yeah, it's going to give them...
they're on 150.
Yeah, it's going to give them...
D.C. Court
page 150, do a search for judicial review.
Yeah,
it's
so
right there at the bottom, page 150.
All reviews on these matters will go through the district court in D.C., in the District of Columbia. So they will have free reign over all of these issues from now on in D.C.
The biggest problem with the bill, the existence of the bill, is the Republicans allowing it to be debated is giving credibility to the argument that there is that the bill is necessary in the first place.
Yes,
the
I agree.
federal government
The Republicans
has all
failed.
the authority that it
And I'm a
needs
Republican.
to take care of the border. There does not need to be another bill. There doesn't need to be new authorizations in Congress. There does not need to be anything except for the executive to use the powers that he has.
Guess I'll go that way.
And to handle the job assigned to him in the Constitution.
One
of the few things that are specifically said that the president has to take care of.
I just want to give a shout out. I asked Libby to tweet out the bill so I could pull up the D.C. provision, but Libby retweeted Mike Cernovich. He said if the border bill were truly a compromise, Democrats would support it as a standalone rather than tie it to the $60 billion WTF to money laundering Ukraine. It's all about money laundering. But I just love the WTF, like, $60 billion. It's done. It's over. It's remarkable that anyone in their right mind could try to justify this expense.
Well, meanwhile, Ukraine's like, forcibly enlisting females to fight their war because they're doing so badly.
How long have they been doing
that? It's at least a month now. Yeah, so they're forcibly enlisting women to fight their war. They're doing something in Ukraine, yeah.
Well, women are fighting in Israel for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's like part of the deal.
But the situation in both Israel and in Ukraine is like these are arguably existential threats, right? So like if the Palestinians have their way, Israel, and if Russia has its way, they might take at least half.
I mean, can I point out that when I said forcibly to Israel, that includes to Palestine as well?
Right.
Yeah, because we're funding both sides of that war.
Absolutely.
And we have been for
like clowns, like damn fools.
We're dumb as shit. I mean, anybody who's watched our foreign policy in the Middle East for the last, 3, 4, 5 decades knows that we always fund both sides of every war. Then we never lose.
It's so infuriating.
Schumer is saying the children of Gaza will starve. And come on, we all know when you send money to these NGOs, it funnels up to Hamas. As soon as these races, let's go back to America, baby.
I'm into neither
myself.
myself.
We're talking about it is so frustrating because there is absolutely
all that
no
money
legitimate
that they're sending over there and all these other places.
Israeli
think about what that would do for all the homeless here.
Our own border. It's so
and the veterans, homeless veterans and stuff.
Right?
Veterans
care.
care.
The lie so clearly. You don't care about American sovereignty.
All that money would solve so much problems here.
They really don't care about our Americans. I mean, when I talk to liberals, when I talk to conservatives, everyone's like, yeah, it's a little too much. This whole immigration thing is too much. You have officials in New York saying it's going to destroy New York City, and everyone's like, oh, let's just do that anyway. Let's destroy New York City.
Let me read this. This is page 150 of the bill. It says, judicial review. Notwithstanding any other provision of this act, judicial review of any decision or action in this section shall be governed only by the United States District Court or the District of Columbia, which shall have sole and original jurisdiction to hear challenges, whether constitutional or otherwise, to the validity of this section or any written policy directive, written policy guideline, procedure, or implementation thereof, issued by or under the authority of the Secretary to implement this section. Long story short, you guys want to know what this bill is?
It's corporate. It's trying to corporatize the American government by giving diplomatic control to the federals.
They're trying to make sure that Donald Trump will have no power to do anything about the border if he becomes president.
They said constitutional or otherwise, meaning we're going to do it whether it's constitutional or not if we sign this bill.
Well, it's, I mean, listen, I'm not a lawyer.
Let's shout out, because really quick, let's read that again. It literally says, whether constitutional or otherwise.
Yes. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not, super versed in legalese, but I will say that sounds to me like we're, giving full reign to DC to make.
Well, we're not.
Well, and the thing too, though, is DC already has full reign over a lot of stuff. Like, we already know that Biden didn't need a border bill to do anything. No. He signed all of this open border nonsense into executive orders and various actions within his first couple of days in office. That like huge numbers
I wish my
of border
torpedoes were
measures
further reach on this.
We're going to increase the number of asylum seekers we're going to let in. We're going to give everybody a court date. We're going to, instead of remain in Mexico, we have remain in the U.S.
Come on, Destroyer, get up here.
And now this border bill, what it really does is it says we're going to get more border agents to process more people faster. Yep. We're going to get more immigration judges to give more people asylum faster.
There's nothing good in there.
There's nothing good.
The record.
God, I hate them cruisers that can do that shit.
This says,
you can't see
if
them.
it reaches 8,500 per day, then we'll move the rest to a legal port of entry. Wait.
There's no.
They're not saying they're going to stop them. They're saying after 8,500, the rest can go apply at a legal court of entry. And it removes the requirement for courts in many circumstances.
Well, and you saw what Chris Murphy said, right? Chris Murphy, who's one of the
the Destroyer would like smoke screen.
Under this bill, the border never closes.
Yeah.
He said the border never closes. So what kind of border security is this if we can't even close our own border?
Well, here's the thing.
No, they set it up for 5 years just so when Trump gets reelected, you can't do anything. That's exactly why they did it.
If you came across your desk and you
think about it, he's got almost 1 year left. He's got to be in office for 4.
Matt Gaetz, who
that's why it's 5 years.
For all intents and purposes, is a pretty decent guy most of the time on some of this stuff. But he came out and said he said why don't we just defund UN so we can fund Israel? I said I had opposed to him. I said Matt, you realize this isn't Israel, right? We don't live in Israel. You're the America First guy. What are you doing? This whole bill is from front to back just terrible.
Well, and the other thing too about the UN is we fund the UN, and the UN hires a bunch of people that are linked to Hamas and stations and puts them in Gaza to distribute all of the aid to Hamas.
But this is where we can find a compromise. How about we say, all right, $60 billion to Ukraine, but no more funding to the UN ever. No funding to this is the last one. Like you tie it to something. What did I say? The general idea is you tie it to something in such a way that it puts them in a position they can't maintain.
We'll fund the wars that they want if we can bulldoze all of Washington, D.C.
Listen, 12% of the population, 12%. Okay, if we can bulldoze D.C., I'm in. No, but 12% of the population of the United States having problems with food on the table today, and we're sending $60 billion to Ukraine. Why? It's
because Chuck Schumer. You saw Chuck Schumer.
Because it's money laundering.
It is money laundering. And, like, he threatened that if we don't do it, then he's going to send our kids to go fight in
Everybody that's in office now needs to get fired.
I wonder who.
November needs to be an absolute, like, it must be a massacre. Everybody that's in office, if you're an incumbent, fire them.
I wonder who they got to help.
I mean, we're talking about the vote.
Let me pull this from the Post-Millennial. Chuck Schumer demands border never closes bill pass, or else U.S. troops will have to fight in Ukraine. We're going to break this down. He didn't literally say Ukraine. He said in Eastern Europe, in a NATO ally in a few years. And so it's vague enough. First, he could mean Poland. He could mean Sweden. I think it's fair to argue he might literally mean Ukraine, in that the West wants to take control of it and would absolutely shove it to NATO if they had to. But he's basically saying Vladimir Putin is going to invade Europe, and so we need this border security bill? Whose border security? Ukraine's?
Yeah, I want to know.
It's the Ukraine border.
I want to know how my border got to Ukraine.
I'm coming to believe this hypothesis, at least I have the hypothesis, that we are in a slow coup that's been going on for 100 years, man. It's like a banking, they're trying to do it not fast enough to alert the people.
JFK.
Like JFK, the Federal Reserve, the business plot, there's so much. There's so many foreign wars that are proxy wars with money getting laundered away from our country. And 9/11, even, I could just go down a list of things I find in my hypothesis that this is a news show. I'm not going to do that on a news show, but the last 10 years, it's been they're just make it, don't alert them, just let's get the money, let's do it. The COVID spending, well, they increased our budget by 20%, our deficit by 20% in 2 years.
Look, a soft coup, I mean, I would actually suggest, I would ask, at what point does the government become the functioning and in control of government, right? So Taiwan, the official name of Taiwan is the Republic of China, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And so many people make the joke that communist China is just West Taiwan, because the original government of China fled to Taiwan. They've maintained themselves ever since, resisting the communists. And so my question is, at what point after the coup happened in the United States, Woodrow Wilson, who knows, the banker plot, the Federal Reserve,
1913.
Right, so my point is simply this. Maybe the revolution was Donald Trump. Not that he is a perfect guy, not that he was the guy, but that he ripped the establishment's power in twain, and they were losing their minds.
They're still losing it.
Absolutely. And so when everyone's like, they're trying to stage a coup, I'm like, the thing is, the establishment was in control. The Uniparty was in control.
I have a
then
problem
a
with
bunch
my
of people
crypto
on the internet
miner.
made a bunch of memes, and the reality TV real estate mogul wins and says, don't do wars, we're shutting it down, secure their borders, and then they lose their minds like, we've lost control of this. That's why it's funny when they say our democracy, they say Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. They're literally saying that there's a populist uprising against the autocratic control we've maintained for generations.
Yep, that's true. It was George Bush Sr. in the 90s said that we were moving towards a new world order. This liberal economic order was fading into something new, a global order. And Trump got into office and canceled the Trans-Pacific Partnership right away.
That's
3 days
exactly
in. It was if you look at the investor-state dispute settlement clause in that Trans-Pacific Partnership, it said foreign countries, these investors, these Malaysian oil companies, can sue a state for discrimination. Right. If we chose not to buy a Malaysian company's oil as American citizens, they could sue our country, and as taxpayers, we would have had to pay a corporation out. That's what that Trans-Pacific Partnership was going to do to us, and Obama was on board. And then Trump came in and threw it in the garbage. I don't even know if he knew what it was, what it was doing. I don't know if he stopped something he understood.
He just knew there were a bunch of people outside yelling Trump, and they had experts.
Let's not fool ourselves and act like there's not so much foreign influence today still in the United States, though, right? I mean, it's just AIPAC's arguably one of the very strongest outside influences in the United States today, and it's and it's not good for us as Americans.
Having problems with my crypto miner.
Right. But Trump got in office and immediately
was reading abnormal.
The establishment thing is kind of.
Donald's not great at hiring.
Donald Trump.
Fixed now.
Really bad.
Understand, Donald Trump. He was like, I'll play ball and I'll get done what I want to get done. And they were like, no, you don't understand. You live under our boot. The joke is, as soon as you win the election, you sit down in the Oval Office, guy from the CIA sits down and just hands up, sits
Well, I'm
down,
doing horrible this week.
opens a mail folder, and then slides a picture of JFK right across the table and says, "We'll be in touch," and then leaves.
Right.
We get it. Trump is the guy who's like, "What is this? I don't know what you're showing me. Get a picture of this guy," and they're like, "We're letting you know." Letting me know what? I don't
These
get it.
three tips right here.
Doesn't understand what
They're
you're
some of
trying
the
to say.
slowest,
He's like, "Look,
but
we're going to
also
secure
some
the
of my
border. We're shutting
favorite.
down." There was no Mr. President. We're not. Yes, we are on the bus.
They can either take a shitload of damage or no damage.
What do I think is, when Trump was running, I remember
Damn it.
Trump had a meeting with a bunch of established Republicans. They did not want him. The Democrats wanted him to be the Pied Piper candidate. Trump, I think, genuinely wants to secure the borders, bring jobs back. That goes against their agenda. And so he thinks when he gets in, now I'm the president. I've got to play ball with some of these guys. I got to, there's favors. We'll bring in John Bolton. I think Sheldon Adelstein wanted a lot of favors. Absolutely. And so then what happens? Russiagate. And Trump, I think, finally realizes.
I hate this map.
Bro, you are being tricked, manipulated, and lied to, and you brought in a bunch of dumbasses.
I question whether or not there are people
All right, let's go.
available to fill the positions that are not currently already steeped in the bureaucracy, right? Like there are a lot of positions that have to be filled, and I don't know who you go with that's actually someone that's not, that's not already got their significant
we want to go out this way.
to the existing bureaucracy.
They're going to go right behind that island right there. We have to go this way and cut them off.
Let me tell you, in order to hire John Bolton, Trump had to drive past a local prison, drive past a city dump,
all better people,
and go way down to the
I want to go
Pacific
basically straight
Garbage
through
Gyre,
here.
where he got a submersible.
By the time I get back where that cruiser is, the Dallas, they're going to be right there, and they're going to start shooting me off to Woodstock this
we
way.
could have dug up the corpse of Madeleine Albright. It would have been the same thing, essentially. And so, it's terrible. And so that was what worries me about Trump, too, right? Like in 2024, should Trump win? Is it the same thing going to happen? And that's great, and I get that. But my concern is that a lot of my young Republican friends, because I have a lot of friends who are Republicans, tons of friends, are very excited about Trump because of who the VP pick might be. And I think everybody's like, oh, it's got to be somebody like Vivek or somebody like Kristi Noem or somebody like that.
If I hit him, he's gone.
That, 80% of the GOP is still deeply entrenched neocons, and they have to play to that part of the party. Not the 7% that like Vivek.
At Nuremberg, I can take it out with one shot.
I chose it by VP. John Bolton.
I think it's going to be somebody along the lines of Nikki Haley. I really believe.
I think it might be Tucker, man. I'll put it simply for those that don't know. John Bolton has a long history of working in administrations and just wanting more. And so he had a quote. I think this was during the Trump administration. He said something like, "This time next year, we will be celebrating in Tehran." And so he is just a
driving the Nuremberg
character. Nikki Haley ain't got nothing on the war. He
drove right into them
Trump hiring was a mistake. And then Bolton stabbed him in the back.
You could do the hire a cabinet of a bunch of successful businessmen. At this point, it's like the founders did. The founding fathers were a bunch of successful businessmen that got together and started and ran a government together because they knew what.
They'll blow him up right before my shells go there. Happens every damn time.
I mean, you're talking about getting You're talking about getting people that are actually going to satisfy, supposedly the other side of the aisle. The last people that are going to be satisfied are people that are CEOs and board members.
Dude, you can't satisfy the other side of the aisle.
I would.
That's what
we were talking about this
here.
Downstairs because this song came on by Passion Pit, and there's a line. It's a song called "I Took a Walk." And there's a line in the song where it says, "We can rip apart all the socialists and all their damn taxes." And the left went nuts over the song, attacking the band and criticizing them. It was like a cancel culture thing for having dared said that. And that the point of the song, though, is it's about
that is Male's weak too. You can blow it up with one shot.
It's quotes from them and things they have said. He's not literally saying he hates socialism. He's just saying this is what the older guy said to him. But the left doesn't care what's true. They don't care about the point of the statement or the message. It's just, it's surface level. It's one-dimensional. This guy I was playing on poker, and he was in some deficient syndrome.
Well, I'm talking about the cruisers, especially if this shit or the Oklahoma.
He was
just annihilated.
Screaming, "How could you vote for Trump?" He would not listen to a single word. He asked me to name one thing Trump did that I liked. I said, "No new wars." He keeps muttering. He's like, "You can't even name one thing." I'm like, "Abraham Accords." He keeps muttering. And I'm like, this guy can't hear a word. He's just sitting there. "They're so stupid. These people are so dumb. They're stupid." And then my girlfriend's like, "He doesn't know what the Abraham Accords are." And I was like, There's no way for him to respond at all to what that means.
I'm gonna Citadel the shit out of
you
here.
You can't satisfy these people because they live in a shoebox.
I shut the fucking mouth.
The worst thing, the best thing Trump did was like make people extreme on the corporate news media. Being
I would have.
People. That's the greatest thing that Trump did, and it was hilarious watching him work. I mean, just the way that he's able to just troll people in real life is amazing. Like that's great. I love that. But I worry about Trump too and what that means for the people who get their hopes up for a lot of stuff.
Come on, dude, you're from my state.
In 2020, less than 500,000 people came across the border and were apprehended. It was less than 500,000.
Yeah.
Illegal immigrants.
In 2020.
In 2020.
What can you really expect from Donald Trump too? Like what is it that you think people are expecting?
I think people, first of all, the VP spot. I think that a lot of people are going to be let down when we find out the VP.
But that's not even when he's president. Let's say he gets elected, and I don't know.
And people are like, oh, it's going to be somebody great. I'm like, do you remember who his VP was last time? I know. Right?
So let's say
kidding me? You couldn't clear that goddamn
mountain. Picking like the least probable candidate.
Sure. Yeah.
What do people think? Like, what do you perceive as the hopes and dreams?
I think on the extreme side, it's that all these people are going to go to jail, right? Like this is the revenge tour. We're gonna lock up all these corrupt people and shut down the border, and we're gonna end all the wars, and we're gonna end all the tax cuts. And I know, but that's what a lot of people think.
But no. But like first, I can locking people and arresting everybody. Maybe some people might get some referrals. You don't think that people won't get arrested? I'm sure.
Goddamn French.
I don't think it's going to be like military tribunals where they go to the Clintons or anything. I think it's going to be like we're going to hear about lawyers and we're going to hear about election officials. There's going to be criminal charges brought up by. I mean, could you imagine if Kash Patel was the AG? Right. There would be criminal charges. I don't think it's going to be like this apocalyptic thing. Ending wars. Well, Donald Trump is the best president in my lifetime.
If I can get around this damn island. That's why I hate this map.
Pulling our troops out of Afghanistan, setting the deadline for it, I should say. Biden screwed that up. Trying to get our troops out of Syria, and no new wars.
Kind of expanded the Syrian war, though, a little bit when he did that, too, right?
He tried to get our troops out?
Yeah.
Well, wait, how so?
Didn't we send them a bunch more cash right after that happened?
I mean, if we're leaving, and like, if you came to me and said, we're going to pull our... Here's what Trump wants to do, is get all our troops out of Syria, and then we'll give Syria some cash. It's like...
Okay, it worked out.
But he didn't pull the troops out.
No. He did. He gave the order, and then the officials lied to the American people, to him, and kept them in. Right, that's messed. Look, if the only thing I could be offered was, vote for Donald Trump, he'll take a dump on the floor of the White House, but he won't start a war, I'll be done.
Considering how many people are taking dumps on the floor.
I mean, to be honest, like Joe Biden is like he'll dump on the floor in his pants in the everywhere he goes. He'll have to change his pants several times. He'll start several wars, and I'm like, well, there's no upside now.
Yeah, well, also none of us are stupid enough to believe that Joe Biden is actually leading the foreign policy of the United States right now, right? Like, at 23, they just did a poll. They just put out a poll where only 23% of the respondents said that they think his mental capacity is good enough to be president again, and that's. I mean, I think that's high. I think 23% is high, but that's really low in a poll for this country.
Well, you heard what Bill Maher was saying. Gavin Newsom's a winner. He can win an election.
Sure.
Joe Biden. Yeah. The argument from the DeSantis people that the only reason, or one of the main reasons they don't want Trump is a loser. He's going to lose if everyone hates him. And it is true. The only reason Joe Biden won is because people vote against Donald Trump. I take that back. Not the only reason. A good factor in why Biden actually got votes was not because anyone liked Biden. But the strong factor in why Biden won was because activists went out and collected ballots.
They mailed ballots to people, and then people were told how to vote.
Well, I'm telling you, listen.
And then they told us that wasn't happening.
The United States is really big on politicians failing at words. We've known this forever. And coming from California, I watched Gavin Newsom
I need the ships.
ruin San Francisco. San Francisco used to be a really beautiful city when I was
I don't care.
You ruined it. You destroyed it.
I need to get ships saying, this will give me 3 this round. Hit me.
Cities in the state.
Hit me.
Get rid of them.
There you go. Good boy.
Make him the governor of the state, and so we can have approved maps for all of California. And next, who knows? Maybe the country, maybe the world. Maybe the
Why stop there? Mars. Well, there was an article written several years ago that I covered. California is 5 years ahead of the United States. Over the past several decades, whatever happens in California 5 years later is national. And so they talk about a bunch of policies, gay marriage was a big issue in California, things like that. illegal immigration, sanctuary cities became
sanctuary
cities.
states for sanctuary state for trans kids.
Well, California had sanctuary cities, which then turned into a sanctuary state, and then all of a sudden you start seeing it spread across the country. And I think it has a lot to do with the undue influence they have through illegal immigration.
Sure.
They get extra votes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah, they have extra. Some members of Congress have said it's between 5 and 7 extra congressional seats, which is 5 to 7 extra electoral college votes for president because of non-citizens they have illegally allowed into their country in defiance of federal law.
Well, under Trump said that the census should differentiate between people who are here illegally and citizens who are, obviously lawful citizens, and that's what he was aiming for. And Biden reversed that within his first few days in office. And of course, the reason is to get more congressional seats for Democrat-led states that allow all that illegal immigration.
I want to jump to the story from the Anchorage Daily News. February 3rd, Alaska National Guard plans deployment to assist federal government on U.S.-Mexico border. I posted an image of this, and someone said, who knew Alaska was so based? And everyone responded, Alaska assisting the feds is not based. So the gist of the story is this. They deploy a couple aircraft and 20 personnel to assist with the aircraft. They say it's routine. This is, they say, Major Ryan Wierzbicki, a spokesman for the U.S. Army's Joint Task Force North, said in a phone interview that Alaska Guard members would be sent to any of 4 states along the border, including Texas and Arizona. Federal requests for states to provide border assistance are issued regularly and have become routine. Now, I tweeted about this somewhat facetiously. I said, what do you call it when a National Guard is called up to go against another state's National Guard? And I got community noted on X, where it took selective excerpts from the article to obfuscate what's actually happening. It said, they are not going against each other. I'm like, I asked the question intentionally to, not to state definitively, but it is true. These individuals will be providing assistance to CBP in Texas as well as. But that does mean Texas. That does mean part of their deployment will put them up against Texas. I don't know how else to describe it. If Texas National Guard is saying no to CBP, back the F off, and you have no jurisdiction here, or we've cut you off from your jurisdiction, how in any way could you interpret any amount of National Guard being called in by the feds to a variety of states, which include Texas, anything other than they will be, as part of deployment, against Texas National Guard? It also says, they also said, it's a routine thing. Many people responded saying, it's totally routine, it's not that big a deal. It says in the article, the last time they did this was 2019, 5 years ago. It was not routine. No. Now, I'm not saying Joe Biden got on the phone and said, we need to bring the National Guard in to stop Texas. I'm saying it's a grain of sand in a heap. And the question is this the most tone-deaf move you could possibly make when the Texas National Guard has deployed armed soldiers to physically remove and bar federal agents from removing border barriers? Or was it an intentional CBP needs assistance because of what is happening with, look, I'll put it this way. I don't care what state they go to. CBP in Texas are completely at odds as to how to operate this. When we've had people who have reported on the ground at the border tell us, when Taylor Hansen was here, he said tens of thousands of people, it's chaos, there's litter. What happened after Texas took over? 3? Yeah. He said 4 to 6 maybe. And I said, 1,000? He goes, no, 4 to 6, like 4, 5, or 6. And I was like, you mean like on my finger? 4? Yeah, 4 people. I'm like, what? So when CBP is facilitating human smuggling, and then Texas steps in, what do you think it's going to mean that the Alaska National Guard is assisting them? It means these individuals who are providing assistance with aviation and CBP will be at odds with the mission of the Texas National Guard. That's a fact. And I'll give you one more. Let me see if I can find this. I'm
surprised Alaska would send them, to be honest, and Dudley, because that state kind of already hates the Fed anyway.
Yeah,
they're like super. That's like one of those states that's actually pretty anti-federal.
I had the story pulled up. I lost it, but it's the Border Patrol Union supports the new border bill.
Yeah, because they're getting, there's a lot of pay increases and stuff for border guards there.
But the border bill, as we covered in a previous segment, the country every day, and gives them the funding, and it gives them more authority to adjudicate asylum claims without a judge. So of course they're for it. Do we want, let's say this law, look, they're planning on having this law probably pass, and that'll happen, but if it didn't, and CBP is now in the legal, has legislatively been given the right to bring in 5,000 to 8,000 criminal aliens every day, and in some instances determine their asylum cases just right there, and they get work permits. Alaskan National Guard is going to be helping them do that.
And that's still 3 million illegal immigrants a year, by the way, which is not a huge drop in what we're seeing currently. So it's not good.
None of this is acceptable.
No, I mean, it also, though, I mean, the border bill also has an increase in pay for asylum and border agents.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
So I'll point this out, too. In the community note, it said it has nothing to do with Operation Lone Star. That's exactly my point. Operation Lone Star is Texas's operation securing the border. This mobilization has nothing to do with that. It has to do with supporting Customs and Border Protection in what they do, which is the opposite of Operation Lone Star. And so they are trying really hard to downplay this move being made. I think we have to point this out because Alaskan Governor Mike Dunleavy actually joined 24 other GOP governors in support of Greg Abbott. Why now would he be like, okay, I guess? No. We put pressure on him and say, don't you dare. I don't care if it's 1, 5, or 20. I don't care if it's 200. We should say, no. CBP is facilitating human trafficking. Do not send support. Yep. It's all for show, though.
Did you see what Abbott said? He said that there had been 3,000 to 4,000 people coming across in a day, and now it's gone down to 3.
Yeah, wow. That's what
that's what Taylor Hansen was telling us. Taylor has gone down. Shout out to Tenet Media. He reports for Tenet. Taylor was saying that he was there during the peak of the crisis. There's garbage and
Why does everything go dead at once? I swear.
Yeah, they've moved. If I understand correctly, they have moved the locations to places in New Mexico and Arizona. They've started to go into other states,
which also makes sense for this deployment. Texas is at odds with CBP. They have put up barriers in Operation Lone Star, shipping containers with razor wire all over them. So the criminal enterprise is shifting operations to other parts of Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona. So what? Alaska National Guard is going to go help the human smugglers, CBP, at the border in Arizona? That is still working against this country. It's worse than just working against Texas.
Yeah, and so, like, the 10th Amendment gives Texas the right to a border situation anyways.
That's got coughing today.
Yes, exactly. That's the goal. I think that's the goal. Because the 10th Amendment gives them the right. They moved the deadline on the cutoff deadline for Biden, 3 times?
They can't do anything.
They can't do anything. The Constitution gives Texas the right to hold and guard their own border. They can guard their border from any illegal invasion that they want to, because it's not mentioned that power is to be given to the federal government. So what does the 10th Amendment say? It says that anything not mentioned expressly for the federal government here in the Constitution is up to the states.
Was it Article 4, Section 4? States that the federal government must defend from invasion.
Sure. Yeah.
Now you got this bill that the National Guard can respond with lethal force on the border.
Yeah, but they can litigate. They can what is an invasion all day long.
My point is, when you've got frozen videos of human traffickers with rifles, to the point where a Republican has proposed a bill that would allow the National Guard to use lethal force against these individuals, I'm like, I kind of think when they're smuggling humans with weapons into our country, and many of them are flying the flag of their home country, and like they have guns, I would call that an invasion.
Sure. So you guys see Brett Weinstein talk to Tucker Carlson. He went down to the Darien Gap, which is this area south of, southern Panama.
South most dangerous.
Like 60 miles of jungle, where this is like where most people meet their maker when they're trying to flee here. They go through the Darien. I don't know most, but a lot of people die in that jungle. And he said he saw camps, lots of camps, and they were very friendly. One in particular, very friendly. They let him in, and he was talking to people. They're fleeing economics. They're not fleeing political asylum.
Right.
There's economic asylum, which is not, the U.S. government, first of all, is not supposed to take people for economic asylum. It's not a real thing, because it displaces our own economics. Secondly, then Brett's like, and then I went to this camp, and it was a Chinese camp, and they wouldn't let us anywhere near it. And they were what I would call hostile. Wow. So what I think is happening is that there is an economic migration happening, but it's masking an invasion.
Think of it like this.
I think there's a good chance of that.
Yeah, there's something that people don't, or that we don't talk about, or people don't bring up much, that I heard someone discussing today, was the one-child policy in China that went on from the 70s, I think it was.
Until like just a couple years ago.
Until recently.
Yeah.
There are, probably a couple, and I'm probably not exaggerating, but I don't know for sure, but I imagine it's probably a couple 100 million young men that have nothing to do and no women. China needs to do something with these guys
women
because
were aborted on top of everything else. Little girls were aborted before they could be born.
Yeah, and so these guys, young men that have nothing to do, they start civil wars. They cause all the problems societies run into. It's always young men that have nothing to do and don't have limits. They don't have families.
I want to clarify. We got a super chat, so I want to give some clarification because they're pointing out that it says potentially deployed in early 2025. I think it's important that people know that, but I don't think it changes anything that we're talking about right now. It's tone deaf right now to make this announcement. And the other thing we talked about early in this segment is the point of the border security bill. One strong point is that, and why they're starting wars, they want to make sure that whatever happens, if Donald Trump gets elected, they steamroll through what they want, with or without him, and lock him in place so we can't change anything about it. Announcing this deployment early means that if Trump does get in office, he will have a harder time stopping it from happening.
Done that.
Can we talk about how crazy it is that we're bombing Iraq again for 33 years and we want to open the border completely? I mean, we've destabilized so many regions in the Middle East and we're like, yeah, come on in, totally cool. No one's going to worry.
And also when people come in, right? We have this. Part of our culture now is to tell everyone that America sucks and everything that America stands for is bad, and that the culture that's part of American culture.
Not my culture. Yeah.
That's part of the culture of the nation in which we were born and raised. That culture has been taken over by really bad actors who hate America and hate Americans.
17,000 points.
And so we have people coming in, and you have all of these progressives saying your culture is better than ours. So don't bother assimilating, don't learn English, don't learn our values, don't become part of our culture. And that's not how it used to be when you had like the Ellis Island kids.
Come on, man. Somebody want to help me.
They're communists.
My God.
The communists that did that.
You guys
there they are.
love poker tables. It is, you will get kicked out for speaking any other language but English.
I had fun hanging out watching you guys play poker.
Yuri Bezmenov warned us of this in the 80s. I mean, he could
Somebody want to help us.
Hey, the communists are taking over
Well, and
every
here it
single
is.
one of your
Here
institutions. Your libraries, your schools, your government,
museums,
your hospitals.
all of the not-for-profits.
Mental health care. What about the banks?
But the only reason that matters,
Have they overtly taken over the banks? Probably.
the only reason it matters that they did this is that we no longer go to church. But to be fair, the communists are taking over a lot of churches too.
Yeah, that too. I mean, there's a church right the street from my house hanging a giant rainbow flag in front of the church. What is that?
Liberation theology.
Yeah, like what are you worshiping here, man? I mean, this is not.
I don't know. I moved to West Virginia, and the church I go to is full.
Yeah, I'm converting Orthodox currently because they're like the one church that hasn't cut to the communist.
Do you go to that one that's like downtown Charlestown?
I don't want to say on air.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Where do you go to church at?
See you there. Yeah, there's one that Seamus,
every Sunday with my child.
Right. Seamus would go there and really nice. And I told the story of how like we were gonna go grab food and Seamus was like, yeah, I got church and I'll be out at this time. I was like, cool, we'll meet up. And I show up with my brother, and I'm just wearing my clothes. And I see these like little kids playing and they're dressed very nicely. And I was like, man, something got lost.
Yes.
And it's not about, in my opinion, it's not about being Christian and believing in God, although I think there's a strong correlation between these things.
Community is huge.
Community and, what's the right word? I guess decorum, in a sense.
Decorum, community, manners, feeling like you're part of something. Like the church I went to in Brooklyn, where I really liked I liked the other people there. I taught at CTV there, and I liked them.
Goddamn reason I got hit by like four fucking battleships at once.
CCD, I forget what it's called, but it's basically where you teach the kids Catholicism, and they go through all the sacraments. So they start young and they go through catechism. Yeah, you go through. Yeah, you go through all the sacraments. You have
CCD, so you can get confirmed as an adult
in the church. Yeah, but like you
have to do it for Orthodox
confession and communion and confirmation, blah blah blah. But it was very like there was a Spanish mass that had all the families at it, and there were a ton of kids.
If I pull this out of my ass, it's going to be amazing.
And then you had the English mass, which was just a lot of old people and hardly any kids. And we don't speak Spanish, so much the pity, I guess. And we would walk out of mass, and like all the families and kids were coming in, and like we weren't part of that mass. And I found it really frustrating. And I would say to the leadership of the church, we should do one giant bilingual mass, and parts of it are in Spanish, parts of it are in English, and they'd be like, well, we won't all understand what's going on. I'm like, it doesn't matter if we know what's going on or not. The only thing that matters is that my kids and your kids are all hanging out, you know, trying to get in trouble playing under the pews. That's all that matters. That's what matters.
And that's the only thing I'm doing to get in trouble.
Right, that's great. You know, like my son recently got in trouble because he was at CCD, and it turned out that he and his friend cut masks. Like they do CCD and then they have masks. And the mom, my son's friend's mom, called and was very upset that the boys had cut masks. And I'm thinking like, yes, that's important. They should not cut masks. That's a problem. I'm also thinking, this is great. This is great. Like, this is what you're doing? You are rebelling by cutting masks. I'm thrilled. In Brooklyn, like, what are you doing? You're, like, getting high on the street corner and robbing people. Here you're cutting masks. This is perfect.
Big deal, yeah. Well, I'll say this before we move on now.
I hope he's not watching.
I've been saying this for a while. You know, the communists, the two things they have to be at war with all the time is a strong family unit and faith, right? Because when you have those strong ideals in your family or in your church community, then you don't just automatically cut to the communists. You don't say, oh, we need this collectivism to save us, right?
Well, what was it, video games or TV? Because it was like the 90s when things started to fall apart. Because that's when people started to go, when I started to go inward. I could play a game by myself for 10 hours alone without talking to someone. I had books before that. But if I ever played with toys like Legos or Micro Machines, it was way better to have a second person to play with. A book, obviously, I was always alone. And it didn't make me communist. But video games made me very disconnected from human. And then a lot of online games, it's not about being kind, it's about like talking shit online.
Well, that's what the schoolyard is too. The kids are talking shit.
So maybe 2000, maybe Call of Duty. Not too bad. Is it video games? I don't want to.
I don't think it is video games.
It's so disconnected. It's in the schools. You know, all of the stuff, all of the socialization stuff, all of the basically all the socialist influence that we have now. It's all in the schools. It started in the 80s and the pedagogy of the oppressed and stuff. All of this stuff became the predominant way that teachers learn. So this stuff got into the schools that teach teachers. So that means that every teacher...
And then all those teachers went all over the country. So they're in Oklahoma,
exactly.
And they're in Nebraska,
these teachers are the teachers that teach the teachers, right? So that you get it at the very source. You get them into an ideology that is based on an oppressor-oppressed dynamic, and you can apply that however you want. You can apply it by race, you can apply it by gender, you can apply it by any way you want, but once you get that framework into the education of an entire generation, it starts pumping out people that are ideologically possessed, that have the same worldview, which is people. It is our job, it is government's job, it's our job, it's society's job to make things equal. And that's why you get people that want equity, you want to have people that have equal outcomes, and that just turns into socialism.
Let's jump to this story. We got some sports keyed up. Some libs are waking up. Internet reacts as comic Michael Rappaport says voting for Trump is on the table after seeing migrants beat NYPD. I just want to say this real quick. I can't remember who tweeted it. It might have been Michael Malice, so apologies if I don't get the attribution right. But someone said, imagine what it must feel like to be the corporate press, where after nearly a decade of calling Donald Trump a fascist, far-right white supremacist, you find that most people in this country intend to vote for him. I saw that.
That was Cernovich.
That was Cernovich?
Maybe not. I know what you're talking about. I know
that. So it's a great point to be made. The power of the media narrative is gone. They can say whatever they want about Trump. Nobody cares. And now you've got Michael Rappaport, who spends his time complaining online about big dick Donald Trump. That's what he would say over and over again. And now he's made a video saying voting for him is on the table. And it's because...
it's a really fun video.
It is. There's a bunch of issues. But mostly, this past week, you got criminal aliens beating cops. Well, hold on, let me start over. You got criminal aliens mercilessly beating NYPD. And Michael Rappaport in Midtown. And they get arrested and are released right away.
Alvin Bragg, who has charged Donald Trump with like 30-something felonies, won't even say what the felonies are, released these guys. And he was like, oh, we couldn't tell from the video exactly who they were. But did you see this thing, Tim? McConnell is now saying, don't vote for the bill.
McConnell's saying don't vote for it.
Yeah, Alex.
Oh, let's be really mad if McConnell's saying don't
that McConnell is telling Republicans to block the Langford-Schumer borderless bill.
We'll jump to that, but let me play the Michael Rappaport video. I don't know, is it too crude? Let's
Oh, it's fun.
I think he's funny. I think he's a funny guy.
This is why when I say voting for pig Donald Trump is on the table. Voting for pig Donald Trump is on the table.
Wait, why is he censoring dick?
The other day in New York City, 6 illegal aliens jumped a New York City cop into NYPD's finest. They jumped a New York City cop in Times Square and were arrested and released without bail. I know it's a city thing. I know it's a state thing. I know all that. I know all that. I know all that. Okay? Stay with me. Released without bail. Came out of the courtroom on some two-punter, raising the middle finger with the Detroit Red Wings jerseys. What the f*** is the world coming to?
Yeah, it's bad when liberals are even turning to conservatives.
And walk out with no bail? What the f*** is the world coming to? What the
Dude, he's right. Like,
yeah, Alan Bragg needs to be impeached.
This is not just like some cops got to a fight. Dude, I have seen Occupy activists push a cop and get assault on an officer charges, and they're in deep trouble. These people, like Michael Rappaport, has come from another country, assault officers, and ain't no big deal.
I said it last time I was on your show, and I'm going to say it again. One of two things is happening here with Michael Rappaport. Either A, the Biden campaign's not paying him, but we have McConnell saying not to vote for this bill, and Michael Rappaport saying that voting for picnic Donald Trump is on the table. Maybe the adrenochrome supply has run out, and these people are starting to come back to real life. Maybe it's true. You know?
I think that's probably the case. Reason is not an accident. No. Reasonable people are the reason this country exists.
It's definitely not adrenochrome, Ian.
It's not adrenochrome. This is why
taking hold of these people.
This is why I said that line about imagine what it must be like to be a corporate journalist who for a decade said Trump was a fascist white supremacist, and today people intend on voting for the guy. More than half the country. That's why, I love telling the story about the dude I met in D.C. who had Trump derangement syndrome, because part of me, next time I encounter something like this, I'm not going to try and argue with the guy, give a point. I'm just going to say, I'm on the right side of history. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, I'm on the right side of history. You're on the wrong side of history. We got pulled.
That destroyer.
So you're in the weird minority of weirdos who don't watch the news. I don't know what you're going on about. But Michael Rappaport, if he's saying it, wow,
think to Tim's point, think about how many people
destroyer.
They get into the voting booth and they're they're alone. They'll actually vote for Donald Trump, right? They would never admit it, but when they actually got into the booth, they'd actually check for Donald Trump. If people like this guy are articulating that it's acceptable to conceive of yourself voting for Donald Trump, I feel like there's probably a lot of people that this gives them permission. You know what I mean? People that don't feel confident in
permission to vote for Trump.
Exactly. Because they feel like now I can. Someone else said it. I can do this, and he noticed too. It's not just me. I'm not crazy. Maybe Donald Trump. That's what I think. A lot of people feel.
So the next time I'm at a poker table and some guy with Trump derangement syndrome starts yelling at me, I'm just going to go, listen, I'm going to tell you why voting for Big Dick Donald Trump is on the table, because New York City's finest were beat up. Let's play the rest of the video.
Man, you're from Brownsville, Brooklyn. I know this. What the have I gotten myself into? Stay with me. On the same day that happens, Cadaver Joe Biden issues an executive order about 4 quote-unquote settlers in Judea, Samaria, aka the West Bank. Some troublemakers, 3 of the 4 have already been arrested. You issue an executive order about 4 troublemaking f***ups who've already been arrested in Judea, Samaria, while there's a war going on, while there's 100+ hostages still being held in Gaza. You're talking about that, but you got nothing to say about beating up cops in New York City, the greatest city on earth. Maybe it's not. Maybe my city is not the greatest city on earth anymore.
Here's the important thing. He's running to Star of David. Yeah. One of the things that really shifted Rappaport was the Israel-Hamas conflict. And when he's coming out and being like, Why is Joe Biden more concerned with the West Bank instead of our cops? That's like, holy crap. Like, the first thing came out was, what's going on with these activists who are anti-Israel? Now he's actually like, yeah, I care about Israel, but this year is more important. He's being pushed further and further. I want to give him a shout out. Last time we talked about him, he has that really funny video where he gets hit with a snowball.
The funniest video of mine.
I know, it's one of the best. Because he's self-aware. I think he's a funny guy, and I respect it.
What if the whole thing was just a troll?
It was. The video of him getting hit with a snowball.
No, I mean prior to that. All the shit about him, hating the right and big dick Donald Trump and all that. What if it's all just a big giant call?
It would be great if he just came out
hilarious.
Really calm. Like, I just want to say to everybody that I never really hated Trump. I just thought it was funny to yell and make fun of him, and I'm voting for him, and thank you so much. And they put it on my head.
Yeah, after this video, I'm almost positive that they took his bag away. He's not getting money from the Biden campaign anymore, for sure.
But yeah, one of the big points, takeaways of this was he's actually mad that Joe Biden focused too much on Israel. That's the crazy thing. You guys hear about Biden saying Netanyahu is a bad dude or whatever?
Yeah, I feel like
he's trying to win these votes back.
Yeah, I think that was clearly leaked just to try and appease the progressive left and get them back on. See, I think Netanyahu's not amazing too, you guys, right? We're all on the same team still,
He's a bad dude.
Come on, man.
Runs some bad boys.
But I think that was such an obvious dumb leak, purposeful.
I think once you've won,
my controller just stuck.
That's it. But this actually, it's a good point you were saying, Phil, about giving permission. Because I made the joke about being at the table and saying, next time in public I'll say something like that. But I guarantee there's probably a lot of guys who are default liberal, don't pay that much attention, but have been given permission. Yep. Now they can still insult Trump, but they can be like, yeah, big dick Donald Trump. But I gotta be honest, man. Like, I might vote for him because, dude, like Joe Biden, and he's a cadaver. You know what I mean? And,
yep. They're not going to be able to put Joe Biden up in this election. Something's got to change soon.
What would they give him? I mean, who would they put up instead? Everybody hates Kamala.
Yeah.
And she only has one phrase.
You know who it is? It's going to be the Antichrist, Newsom, California.
That's you think you got to be a way to get around Kamala though, and Kamala is literally kryptonite to a white male progressive.
Yeah.
What is he going to say?
How would he really be? But she makes absolutely no sense.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Everyone knows that she is like the worst. Absolute worst person the Democrats could possibly field, but at the same time, they can't do anything with her. They can't attack her. She's the first woman of she's got multiracial. I mean, she is untouchable. And if you do, she absolutely will turn it on you and call you, you're the racist, you're the blah, blah, blah. Yeah. She will use
it at the drop of a hat. I think that's done. I don't think anybody cares. I don't think anybody cares about being called a racist.
Kamala Harris withheld evidence.
I just don't think
she was worked in San Francisco. She withheld evidence that kept somebody on death row that she knew was innocent.
There's a lot of black progressives who hate Kamala Harris because she locked up more black people.
Oh, way more.
Based on crap
she
evidence.
also purposely withheld evidence, knowing that somebody was innocent to keep him on death row.
None of that matters.
None of that matters to the left at all.
I don't even think that she has the ability to see what can be. Never mind being unburdened by what
I believe it's going to be Newsom. I do. I really believe that he's going to do something.
I don't see. I just tell me how they get in. How do they get her out of the way? Tell me how they do it, and maybe, because I don't think that Newsom, I think that Newsom is far more of a threat to not only to the United States, but to Donald Trump and to Republicans. But how do you get him into the position?
She's trying to get that ticket, yeah.
So, look, like I said,
3%.
I don't think that Kamala Harris is good, but I just don't see the path to get her into the
you
position.
Sneaky son of a bitch.
Let's
long range torpedoes
from CBS News.
RFK
Jr. mulls running for president as libertarian as he struggles with ballot access. So
tell me, he has to get nude to do it.
I will say this. I have heard some people who are Libertarian Party members associated with the Mises Caucus, nothing from high up, just mutterings from regular folks, that this is their big push, and they really do want this.
Yeah.
I'm curious, is it true what's going on?
Yeah, I believe it is. I believe they do want it. Whether they want him to get a nomination or not, they definitely want him to jump in and shake up the election. There's no doubt about it. I think I've seen grumblings from several people in the Mises Caucus, including my good friend, and I just made a video about this, 5-minute video about this that I put out in public, so it's not like I'm saying anything that I haven't said, but I think that Heiss and Angela, the chair of the Libertarian Party as well, we've seen her make comments that show support for our RFK Libertarian run. And the problem is I don't think RFK can get our delegates to vote for him and make him
not libertarian.
Well, he's terrible on every issue except for one. I mean, really, he's been.
What's the one good issue?
Well, the healthcare freedom stuff. I mean, the guy's
healthcare freedom.
Yeah, he's a medical malpractice lawyer. I mean, that's what he does, right? So like he came from litigating these really high profile medical malpractice cases, and so like of course libertarians are like, yeah, healthcare freedom, but he's like the Homer Simpson meme with all the fat pinned up behind him, where it's like, and socialist monetary policies, and he's an eco-fascist, and he hates guns, and it's like,
and he wants to rename Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day.
and he said directly, that the House were to bring him a bill banning the Second Amendment, he'd be happy to sign it. Well, he said that.
How did that come out?
He publicly has said that.
What was the
he's been anti-gun forever. Listen, this guy's an old school progressive. I mean, not progressive. He's an old school Kennedy Democrat. He's good on a couple of things. He does hate the deep state. So I don't believe that he knows what the deep state is.
When did he say that?
You gotta look it up.
I'm trying.
I've seen it a billion times though. Let's see. Look up Kennedy. I'd be happy to sign Second Amendment.
Considering the performance that he just had on Dave Smith's podcast
3 months ago, vows to respect Second Amendment and not take it, yada yada. Gun control cannot meaningfully reduce gun violence. Comes out against gun control in June. All of them are basically anti-gun control. But he is a liberal. I mean, I suppose the issue is, if he said years ago something like that, it's important to bring
that stuff for a long time.
Right, it's important to bring that up. And now that he's talking about a popular issue with moderates, he's
ahead of us.
Evolving.
Way ahead of you, man.
Oh, yeah, he's going to say whatever he wants to say to get elected. But what the problem is here, he didn't understand what running as an independent would be like as far as ballot access goes, right? We're talking $100 million to get ballot access across the country. As a Libertarian Party, we spend $2 million a year fighting for ballot access in like 3 or 4 states. And we are a pretty, established party as far as third parties go. We're the third largest party in the United States. We're the fastest growing party in the United States.
People.
And he didn't realize, this ballot access stuff is really, really hard, and so he could come over and get ballot access with the Libertarians. The problem is he doesn't share any of our values at all. And Libertarians are very staunch about their values.
There's one state you guys don't have.
New York.
You don't have New York?
Yeah.
Wow, how? Why?
So Larry Sharp actually ran as governor and got the required amount to get us ballot access there, and the legislature went and changed the rules.
Oh, that's low.
That's New York. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So
what? So the Libertarian candidate for president is not going to even be on the ballot in New York?
We can't. There's a possibility. It's likely to cost us about $300,000 or more.
That we should raise that money.
We're working. Larry Sharp's running a whole campaign to
You need to raise how much?
I think it's like $300,000 or $400,000. Just a lot of money.
But there's also caps on how much you can give, right?
Right, exactly.
But it's not to a politician; it's a political party, though.
Yeah, I think at PAC you can donate a lot more than just to there's 33 for a federal campaign right now. There's 3,300 individual donor cap right now. But I think with a PAC and stuff like that, which I think they're working with, you can donate a lot more money too. But yeah, it's a lot of money. And it's a lot of work, and they need petitioners, and they have to get out and get they changed the amount of petitions signed that you need to some ungodly amount. So, and they don't have a whole hell of a lot of time to get it done.
Yeah, so it looks like let's see, there might be the party committee, state, district, and local, unlimited.
Oh, I'm the only person out here? Oh, shit. I didn't realize that. I'm
national
retarded.
Committee, it's unlimited.
Yeah, that makes sense. If it's our national committee, you can just, we had people donate a house. You can donate.
But if the Libertarian Party only needs $300,000 to get on ballot access.
But I'm doing great financially right now.
That's actually surprising to me that the Libertarian could not muster. How many Bitcoin creepos have?
Well, here's the thing: the Libertarian Party's been existing on $1.7 million a year budget for a decade, so it's not like it's a ton.
Was it bigger before a decade ago?
No. I think the biggest we ever were in 2000 when Harry Brown was the candidate, and he actually doubled the size of the party membership. I don't know that meant that we had more money.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. An individual can only give the party $10,000 per year.
10,000, yeah.
Right. I was reading it wrong.
Yeah, for individuals, and then PACs can give like way more money.
No. It's 41,300. Sorry.
I'm reading this thing. I'm going to read this right.
Individuals.
I sat on the National Committee for 2 terms.
For the National Party Committee, it's 41,300.
I think it used to be 30. Now that I'm thinking of it, I think it used to be like 35, 60. But they've upped the cap on these things. They did for the presidential election too. It used to be like 27 or something. Now it's 3,300 that an individual can give. Where do people donate to the party? LP.org.
I'm going to win all by myself.
How many petitions do you need to get in New York? I don't know. Larry Sharp is the man that would know that. He's running the whole.
Yeah, I think we've had him on a couple times.
Yeah, Larry's been here for. Yeah, he's been on Rogan and stuff.
He's running for governor, right?
He did. He's not running for governor currently, and I've been trying to get him to jump in the race to run for VP. But now Clint has announced that he's running for VP. So that's my
Russell,
ladies and gentlemen.
Russell is running to be VP for the Libertarian Party.
Yes.
Who do you think's actually going? Well, you want it.
I want that. No, I'm running for president.
Right, that's what I mean.
I want Clint to be my vice presidential.
Oh, okay, right on.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Who do you think's going to get it?
Right now, it's like kind of a four.
I shouldn't ask you that way.
Yeah,
I should ask you
who's the front runner.
Who's the front runner?
Yeah, it's me, Chase Oliver, who's kind of like the left-leaning, social, progressive, libertarian, but he has some good policies too. But he's like the gay guy who always talks about LGBTQ rights and stuff like that. There's also Lars Mapstead, who actually founded Adult Friend Finder, so he actually helped create this terrible OnlyFans culture that you see in America today. So he's the loaded candidate. He's got millions of dollars. And then, of course, Michael Rectenwald, who's been on the show as well as the media guys.
Okay.
That's interesting. I've been asked about Rectenwald a lot by a lot of people I meet outside, like just out in the streets or whatever, we're libertarians. They'll be like, oh, what was Rectenwald like? And I'm just, but I find it interesting. It seems like he's got the name recognition.
He's, I don't see. He only raised $20,000 in the last quarter, so it's not like he's getting like a ton of play.
What about you? Have you announced?
A little bit less than that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you do crowdfunding?
Yeah, we're raising money at JoshuaSmith2024.com.
Man, it's kind of wild how successful the Libertarian Party is, despite its
shoestring budget. It's a shoestring budget. Yeah, and they put it together and worked really hard, and it is the fastest growing party in the country. And I think that we're not going to win the presidency in 2024. I talk about that all the time.
Not with that attitude.
No, but any libertarian candidate's like, we're going to win the presidency in 2024 is just lying to themselves, really. But we do have the opportunity to,
With RFK Jr., though, he gets you past a certain threshold.
So that we talk a lot about this 5% threshold, which I actually found out means minor party status. It's like 15% to get into the debates. Of course, if we poll at 15 in any of the major polls, they have to put us on the debate stage. That's what I want. That's my biggest
goal. And that would be like in the general?
Just polling to the general, not even in the general election. So, like, if we polled at 15%, there's a requirement for the debate commission to allow that party to debate. So we would get on the stage with, whether it's Trump or Biden or Trump or you'd have a libertarian up there saying these things.
That would be
RFK Jr.
I gotta get some more shit.
On an RFK Jr. Dave Smith VP ticket. Would you be VP for RFK Jr.?
No. I couldn't do it. It would be too much of a conflict for me.
See, here's the issue I see with it. If the idea is you're not going to win, why wouldn't you just take an RFK Jr. candidacy and just get the numbers?
Because then we fool everybody about what the Libertarian Party's about. We saw this with Gary Johnson and Bill Weld. Bill Weld sat on the board of CFR, right? I mean, this guy was he was terrible on nuclear energy. He was terrible on all kinds of stuff that libertarians support. And so him and Gary Johnson went out and they talked about, well, there should be some minor restrictions on the 2A, and Hillary Clinton's really a great service, public service, and this and that. And so then we got this like huge influx of membership for Gary Johnson that all ended up being like the leftist, like social progressive libertarians. And once they realized that, hey, that's not really what the party stood for, they all left.
The social progressive libertarians are probably have the worst to offer because they're just the Democrats with no freebies.
They're the Democrats.
They're Democrats. You can get guns out of them, and
they're going to end all your entitlements.
Respect my pronouns. No other.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's all of the bad things about the Democrats, but you get guns and you get a bunch.
Well, the problem is these guys are like, well, We want to, you know, and Jacob Hornberger, who is running but has totally destroyed his campaign, talks about this all the time. Like, those guys just want to, like, oh, well, Social Security, we just want to make a little cut here, and the tax, you know, we want a fair tax, and we want to do that. It's not like, they're not looking to try and roll back these systems. They're looking to, like, take little cuts out, and that's not good for us either, because people show up and they're like, oh man, you guys are like two-way absolutists, and you want to get rid of Social Security for the younger generations, and everybody's like, whoa, what's going on here, you know? So it's bad for the party to have somebody like RFK, in my opinion. But to the upper brass, on the LLC, and some of these people, of course they want it because they want the money, they want the donor list, they want all that stuff.
RFK might have no choice. He's horrible.
Well, and he may not get on the ballot. He's not going to get on the ballot. He's not going to be on the ballot probably 35 states.
If he really does want to, I mean, it's crazy how the Democrats just nuked his campaign.
Well, they had to. They also, you know, may have shot his uncle. So you think they were going to? He was going to win.
But his dad.
His dad too. Yeah, jeez.
I was going to say like his uncle.
So he should be happy. All they did was nuke his campaign, really. But no, it's the truth. The truth is
they made him shut his dad.
Yeah.
And his uncle.
Yeah. The truth is that he's probably, as an independent, he's not going to be on the ballot in like 30-something states, and he doesn't have the kind of money to buy the ballot access.
But if he's libertarian, he automatically gets all the ballot access.
Any ballot access that we have as a party, if he gets the nomination in May, he automatically gets our
Which
ballot
is everything but New York at the moment?
I think there's one other state that we're working on, but we're going to get it. I knew we were working on Maine, but we've got Maine now. We hit the threshold,
I feel like he'd come in, raise a bunch of money, get it on the ballot in every state, get 8 to 15% of the vote. I mean, he's really popular.
Yeah.
I'm
then everyone leaves the party the next year.
Well,
I mean, I don't think the people who are in the Libertarian Party are morons. If the party convention came out...
You're giving the Libertarian Party a lot of credit.
Hold on. I'm talking about the Mises Caucus.
Oh, sure.
I mean, if you've got social progressives, weirdo libertarians, your party's fractured.
We've gotten rid of a lot of them. They've a lot of them left.
So, you know, basically, if the Mises Caucus has taken over, and everyone kind of gets it, and at the convention, everyone's like, look, this is not a representation of true libertarian values, but it is an alliance between an independent and a third party that are trying to
Democrat. He's a Democrat, even though he's not a Democrat. He's a Democrat.
Hey, but you gotta like, come on, you gotta compromise a little bit. You say he's an independent running right now, who's shut out from the mainstream, who has an opportunity to team with a third party, and both are trying to smash through the front gates of the establishment.
Sure.
So I understand.
I hate matches like this where
if we combine, you know, with our powers
everybody's
combined,
so fucking far away.
Third party shit, whatever third party, this non-existent third party that I'm making up currently that you run, Hillary Clinton comes to you.
But no. Hillary Clinton's the establishment with all the power, and she's in position.
Sure, but your party needs money. You need donors. You guys have to compromise.
Wrong analogy.
It's the same policy.
You're asking me.
It's the same policy.
RFK is not Hillary Clinton. Come on.
Hit that song, bitch.
I mean, the policies are almost in the circle.
Oh, now the internet's lagging. That's right.
Shut down businesses that
he wants to go to
war. I'm glad I paid for the highest internet you can get.
At least, for sure.
RFK Jr. wants to go to war.
He's been talking about it. Yeah, absolutely. Look it up.
Let's pull it up.
He's changed his stance on the warfare stuff so much over the last 6 months, especially since October 7th, right? Like big time. So, yeah, man. I mean, he's not great on these things anymore.
Eco-fascism is pretty easy to turn people on if you make them aware to being able to reuse the carbon. It's so reusable.
This guy has specifically said he wants businesses shut down that don't go along with the climate agenda. That's pretty rough.
He's bad on
He's saying that we should withdraw from the Middle East to come back to America to start working on America.
What date is that?
His website right now.
Okay, but that's not what he's been saying in the media, though.
Well, my point is simply this. Like, it is not fair to compare RFK Jr. to Hillary, despite the fact we can agree that RFK Jr. has bad policies across the board.
Okay.
Hillary Clinton is
I'm trying to think of...
Somebody want to shoot him?
Hillary Clinton is voting for, literally voting for the bureaucracy.
The problem is that this person holds none of our values.
No.
Right? And so we're going to put him in...
Cenk Uygur.
No, absolutely not.
If I had a political party...
You would.
And Cenk Uygur came to me and said, look, you've got a lot of people who are behind you and we get the poll numbers. I've got a lot of people behind me. If we came together and everyone who was between the two of us knew the point of this was to just drive a car straight to those front gates, and this means you're on the debate stage next year, I'd say yes. And I actually said if it came down to like Mitt Romney versus Mitt Romney versus Hillary Clinton, and Cenk Uygur was there, I'd vote for Cenk. Why? at least still pardon Julian Assange, I guess. What am I supposed to expect with the two of the Uniparty establishment? I'm not saying I like
driving right into a damn trap because nobody can kill the destroyer of this fucking
My point is simply, look, man, people come to me and they say, Trump did this bad thing and this bad thing, and I'm sitting here just whistling, being like, no worse.
Come on.
And they're like, yeah, but what about this bad thing and this bad thing? And I'm like, yo, this country has been riddled with such bad
Somebody want to come help?
for so long. And then, I'll tell you this. If somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm running for office, what are you going to do? I'm gonna clean the streets, I'm going to clean up crime, I'm going to restore America, make it really, really great. I'm like, that sounds pretty good. What else are you going to do?
Come on, can't do it by myself.
Sorry, have a nice day. I'm not voting for you. You can talk about securing the border, you can talk about bringing jobs back, and then you say, but we got to intervene in the Middle East, and I say, I'm out. Because I know what that leads to in terms of inflation, what it leads to in terms of death, blowback, conflict crisis, all of this stuff. And I've witnessed some of it. You get Donald Trump. He could literally come out and be like, I don't care about anything domestically, I don't care about any American, I don't care about you, I don't really care about me, but I won't go to war. I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
Military command, man, that's their number one job.
So when I get these people saying,
wow, he's going faster backwards than he does forward. That's awesome.
And he's saying all this stuff about how bad Trump is, he's a liar, and I love it. He said every business Trump has ever had has gone bankrupt. And I'm just like, well, that's just literally not true. But I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if the dude was in an alley slinging dope. I'm like, no new wars. You know, let's deal with our problems internally, and we'll have to. So, long story short, and I understand your position. I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm saying, like, for me, I see the point where it's like, I see RFK Jr. as a guy who's wrong, but I see him as a good dude. He's just wrong. Like, Marianne Williamson is a good person. She's just wrong. And if we could team up and fundamentally change the two-party environment we've had for generations, I mean,
that's what irritates
me. Grand slam.
Sure. Well, then, listen, it's great with Robert Kennedy, but why not any other libertarian candidates, right? Like, you have a giant platform, right, and other people have big platforms, and you're all sick of the wars.
Who's polling at his numbers?
They could be anybody could be if they got the visibility that he's had.
Well, they're like,
the Libertarian Party needs a boost. Here's a guy who was booted from the Democratic Party in cold shoulder, trying to court independence.
Thank you.
I'm not saying the Libertarian Party should bring him on. I'm saying I see the case for let's fund.
Oh, sure, I see the case. I see the case too. I understand the case. I think the case is wrong.
Like I'm not.
And I don't think the delegates are going to put him in that place.
And I agree with that. Now, I don't want to tell libertarians they should vote for him.
Compromise, though, it's
so
a big
stupid.
part of politics. It's compromising with the enemy.
All because they couldn't blow that damn cruiser up.
It's the most powerful country on earth.
Have you ever met a libertarian? Have you ever met a libertarian and spoken to them? Compromise? Libertarians are known for their purity test. If you accept the existence of the post office, you will be excommunicated from the Libertarian Party. Do not test them here!
Hold on.
Do not test them!
Can we just real quick?
Would you say that compromise has gotten us to where we are today?
Well, it's the United States.
Can we just show Ian this meme?
The compromise of all 50 states.
So this is a meme from The Simpsons, and it's Edna, Krabappel, Skinner, and Willie. And he says, brothers and sisters are natural enemies, like progressives and libertarians, or communists and libertarians, or ANCAPs and libertarians, or libertarians and other libertarians. They ruined, damn libertarians, they ruined libertarianism. And then Skinner says, you libertarians sure are contentious people. You've just made an enemy for life.
That's libertarian. Pretty much it, yeah. That's how it is. Nobody hates libertarians more than other libertarians.
That's right.
You know, I root for it.
I just love that story about when they asked about whether or not you should be able to sell heroin to children, and I think was it Gary Johnson said no, and they booed him.
Yeah, that was in 2016 when they had this huge caucus in the party called the Audacious Caucus, and they were like all super like offensive, not even ANCAPs, like leftists really.
Oh wow.
And so you know, the party's changed a lot. We got rid of the Warship plank. They kicked that out, so there's no more like room for error there. And then you got guys like me running, who I consider myself an America First populist libertarian candidate, right? Like I don't believe in open borders. I don't believe in abortion. I know that we've had this debate on the show several times, but I don't believe that you should be able to sell heroin to 5-year-olds. I don't believe that doctors should be able to push kids towards like mutilated surgeries and stuff like that. I think they should be prosecuted. But I also believe that the Federal Reserve has destroyed the economy, and the warfare state has done nothing good for any Americans, and the entitlement programs are destroying us, and, so...
Was it Austin Peterson who said it?
Yeah, it was Austin Peterson.
Okay, wait. I just Googled it. C-SPAN's got the clip.
Of course, there's no constitutional authority to regulate drugs. That being said, at the state level, I would support some legislation that would stop children from being allowed to purchase drugs and prosecute anyone who would put a child in danger, because I do believe that children do need some protection. There is enough people who sell heroin to a 5-year-old.
Austin was by far,
to be fair, people were clapping for him.
in my opinion, Austin was by far the best candidate that year, too.
Yeah.
And he was close. I mean, it wasn't far off in the vote.
I think you need compromise. It's politics. Like, I'm an idealist in my soul, but in reality, I'm more of a compromise. Like, I'm down to do things I don't want to do to get by, and sometimes, like,
We're past that, bro.
Yeah.
And so, I was talking to this guy the other day. He said that the Libertarian Party isn't libertarian enough. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I was like,
it's Austin Peterson got booed when he said, he'd prosecute people selling heroin to kids. And he was like, and he looks at me, and I was like, yeah, I think the Mises Caucus are fairly pro-life, right? Is that true, Josh?
The Mises Caucus?
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a split there, but for the most part,
like
it's pro-life. Yeah, I'm pro-life, and I think Kais is probably pro-life, and a lot of those people. But there are still some people who, think there's a good faith effort on both sides of the debate.
Well, that's good faith debate.
Well, I would say that I am not in the pro-life camp. Yeah. But I certainly do not believe there's a good faith debate with.
I think that there's not a good faith debate in a lot of areas. Yeah.
There's a good faith debate with people like me and people like you, or I really think it was a great conversation I had with Glenn Beck on the issue, which I've probably evolved quite a bit on since then. Probably moved a little bit further to the right on a great deal, because I have a libertarian stance on the issue of the 14th Amendment. And my position on abortion is actually just libertarian. At what point does the government have the right to determine someone must provide their body to someone else? And I don't want to get into an abortion debate, but my point is,
we did this for like on the after show for like an hour long.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it. It's like, that's where where we actually are something like, what's the constitutional limitations? What can the government do? And then you have the left that they're just like, we just want to kill babies.
Yeah, it's bad. It's gross. It's like they're basically sacrificing their own children to Moloch, dude. That's really what it is. I can't put
it is a self-correcting problem.
I know, and I have a lot of friends on the right that say, let your enemies do what they need to do. You know what I mean? But
don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake.
So there's a religious argument for me, but there's also like I think that the libertarian argument.
Anyway, the point that I was making to you, Ian, is that compromise made sense in the 90s when Democrats and Republicans overlapped on almost everything except how much taxes should people pay, and should it be this high for this bracket or this low, and how strong should the border be. Now the issues are like, sanctuary states should be able to people should be able to kidnap your children and bring them to a sanctuary state where they can get a forced sex change.
Right.
Like, I don't see a compromise there.
And an abortion at the same time.
More compromise just to get the LP on the ticket.
I found the Reason article with RFK talking about that.
What's it called?
So it's called RFK Jr. The Reason interview, and it's an actual interview. And he says, "I love Tulsi Gabbard because she understands the importance of disentangling or unraveling the empire and unraveling the war machine." So that's good. But on banning assault weapons, he said,
"Wait, I want to pull it up." So
it's just look up RFK Jr. The Reason interview.
Got it. Okay, let me pull up the quote.
Yeah, but there's another quote here where he says, I'm not going to take away anybody's guns, but if a bipartisan bill to do so passed Congress, I'd sign it."
Right.
He also
and assault weapons doesn't mean anything anyway.
And this dumbass man.
But he's
but that's actually correct. If there's a bipartisan,
guy.
I mean, you should sign off on
I would never, as president, I would never sign a bill.
Not something that's anti-constitutional, but I mean, I do think that it makes sense to say, if this is what the people want, you should do that.
Veto stamp.
Not an unconstitutional thing.
No.
You're missing my point.
I hear your point. The border security bill, bipartisan, does not mean the will of the people. It means the corporate establishment paid off a bunch of crackpots who are insider trading at the time. Quote-unquote border security bill right now is quote-unquote bipartisan.
Well, it's not really bipartisan, though.
Republicans in the Senate did help them draft it.
My buddy Chris Hansen,
19
sent me an
senators
article
said no.
from Iowa. I appreciate you sending
me. The president doesn't actually. The president doesn't have any constitutional leniency when it comes to the border, right? Like he's charged with.
Not.
Yeah, he's charged with. This is your job.
With not allowing an invasion.
Yeah, this is your job.
The point of the presidency is quite literally that if there is a bad bill that's bipartisan, he vetoes it.
Well, I mean, fair enough. But again, we're talking about this bill as if it's legitimate, as if the concept of needing this bill is legitimate, and it's not.
I need to catch somebody fire once, and I'm not going to get to do it. You watch. You watch. I'll get screwed out of it.
That you're spending so much effort and energy discussing this when the president has every bit of authority that he needs currently in the Constitution to defend the border, take care of all the problems we have at the border. The president has all the authority he needs. This is literally just extorting the American people so that way they can get money to launder in Ukraine and give money to Israel to defend their own country.
How are they laundering money without Sam Bankman-Fried? I don't understand.
Well, I mean,
they don't have their chief money launderer anymore.
This is actually crazy. I actually met a lawyer for his family.
Really?
I mean, look, I gotta tell you, I tell these stories about National Harbor, D.C., and this is where all these people are hanging out. You wanna meet the high-powered lobby? I gotta tell you, man, this casino is apparently the highest-grossing casino in the country. I can't even. I don't. There's just like 20,000 people downstairs at tables, and they're probably all millionaires. And I cannot fathom. I saw a guy sitting at a table with like 20 grand just playing away, and I'm just like, this is nuts. You go to the poker room. They had I guess it was. I don't know if you guys know anything about 2550 was.
Oh, I got it. Oh,
apparently it was even bigger than that. Long story short, what does that mean? It means everybody who played had to bring $100,000. So you have basically one or more. That's the minimum.
That's crazy.
And so these are people with $1 million on the table. I was not playing anywhere near that level. I was playing 2-5. And I met a guy who was a lawyer who was talking about how he's actually a lawyer for their family. And, he didn't go into any classified details, but it was interesting to hear the perspective he had on what was going on.
Did they drop the charges on that guy?
I mean, it just seems like, it's all dirty.
Yeah, and I read that they dropped some charges.
They dropped some charges, but not all.
Yeah, you can't really put him in jail when he was the one laundering their money.
I gotta say this. I gotta say this right now. If you're a journalist,
this is a throwaway.
You're trying to figure out how to get started in journalism.
Don't think I suck.
I
don't care.
Because people often ask, "What can I do to get started?"
I'm just trying to get my one person on fire, and I did it. So.
Go to the poker room at MGM National Harbor. No, I'm not kidding. The people I have met there, it is wow. I mean, first of all, I was hanging out with a guy who was a Mrs. Caucus guy the other day, and he knew who I was, and he was like, "Oh, yeah," and we're talking about normal stuff. But then you meet a guy who's he's a lawyer for the Bankman-Fried family. And I'm like, tell me more, good sir. If you want to get into journalism, or, I mean, post-millennials should just have I might do this. I'm going to hire.
Also,
I'm saying hire somebody. Maybe we'll have SCNR hire someone literally just to play 1-3 and keep it hero of it. But really, if you want the big shots, it's 2, 5, or 5 times. They're very expensive games. It's hard. But the things you overhear there, and the things people are talking about, because these are people in D.C. who have a lot of money. If they're playing 5-10, that means they spent between $600 and $2,500 to play that game. And I gotta tell you, these guys, they play more than that. So you have to wonder what job they have in the DC. It's not a construction worker. No, you're gonna find lobbyists and lawyers, and they love to talk. You can't film here, though. Some casinos do allow it, but if you're in MGM National Harbor, does not, and probably because these guys are going to be high-powered lawyers, delegates, political staffers, people who are doing things maybe they shouldn't be doing, but you'll hear those opinions. I'm willing to bet you will find a ton of stories if you just play the game and ask, like, oh, really? Like, what do you do? What is that like? Oh, is it true what they said about that guy? You're going to get scoops galore. Because these dudes are hang on the table, they're bored all day, they're there for 6 hours or more. Some of them, a lot of them are drinking, and the server's coming around offering drinks. Actually, but if you go to the Saturday night, I'm willing to bet that's a good spot for a journalist to hang out. Poker room at MGM National Harbor. Now all the DC politicians are hard.
All the ones you've had on the show were like, thanks a lot.
Well, I was saying before, I think this is where they actually launder money. So when I played this past week, yesterday, when I was cashing out, they had like a supervisor come over and track the cash out, write down my name, write down the table I was on, the game that was played, how much money was played, how long it was there, and then thank me for my business. And I'm like, I wonder if that has to do with money laundering.
That's wild.
Yeah, because we talked about it before. If you want to launder money, I was actually talking to some dude there about it,
And he was like, nah, you don't need to go to a poker room for that. Just bring up a briefcase. And I'm like, how do you report your taxes? I came into 20 grand. It's really easy. You got a proxy.
Hey, c'est quoi vous faites, cette gang de pas bon, man? C'est une calice de tabarnak, man.
And then you got a guy who's going to make a donation. And they play a hand of poker. And then the guy goes, oh, geez, I'm going to bet 20,000. Ah, you beat me. And there's no record of what cards you had. You just muck them, so you don't even know if it was a con game. All you see on camera is two guys played a game of poker and one guy won 20 grand. Now he reports on his taxes, clean as a whistle.
Right.
And we know what that money's really for.
I've seen those arms.
Yeah.
I've seen the show. When they did the show, right? I mean, that was the big thing.
I haven't seen those.
Yeah, they opened a casino so they could launder cartel money, and that was the whole thing about the shows.
The poker room is especially interesting. You sit down with your cash, and then you say, I'm going to bet 10 grand, and the other guy says, I call, and then you go, he got me. So let me explain. If I've got the best possible hand, I think I really flush. I have the best hand, but I want Phil to be given money. Phil could have the worst possible hand, or he could have a hand, and then when I bet all my money and he calls my bet and flips over a mediocre hand, all I have to do is say he got me and then put my cards face down in what's called the muck. No one will ever see what I have, which means I can choose to lose without any proof that I actually won.
I wonder if casinos in the future are going to change it so your cards are always tracked. Yeah.
They could. I mean, they could report it.
We have an RFID table.
Yeah.
They can track it.
Well, they make the poker hand cameras too for like the big poker.
But you have to show those.
Right. Yeah.
Now they do RFID where you've got it on a table. You get the cards and you rub them. You don't have to, but you try to get them to move so it reads, and then the computer gets all the information. I don't think they're going to spend $20,000 on an RFID table at any casino.
And they're not going to intentionally expose people that are trading money.
Yeah, they're not interested in exposing money laundering. They have no reason to stop that.
Like some places.
I am not suggesting National Harbor does this, or if there's any way knowledgeable of anything that's going on.
I was going to say, get the caveat that.
Yeah, I think it's a fine establishment. I just genuinely, dude, I got to tell you, man, I've been to a lot of casinos. Okay, and a lot of people have, but you go to MGM National Harbor, and I do not understand how these people are there. I don't get it. You want to play one hand of like ultimate hold'em. It's basically it's like blackjack, but it's a different table game called Carnival Games. It's going to cost you, let's see, it's 50, 50, 50, 150, and then to play is another. So $200 to see one hand, and if you want to raise your bet because you got a good hand, you're putting another 150 on top. How is anyone playing there? I do not understand.
There's got to be people, well, I don't know, speculation, they're like, from a foreign government, they're like, go to D.C., get the job done, and give that city $1 million while you're there. Here's, take this $10 million with you.
The National Harbor is in Maryland. Yeah.
How far from D.C. is it?
A couple miles.
So it's like a hotspot, a D.C. hotspot, but it's out of D.C.
So this is the thing, I'm like, I really just think maybe there's a lot of big money.
Yeah, there's no gambling
like Arlington.
No, but National Harbor is Maryland, and it's just south of D.C., and I'm like, maybe D.C. is more powerful. It's not listed in one of the top cities for millionaires. It's actually nowhere near it. But there's a lot of money running through there. And
there's a lot of diplomats, too. Diplomats have a lot of money.
That must be it, but I'm like, I'm seeing what looks like some working class dude pulling $25 slot levers, and I'm just like, this is the craziest place I've ever been.
There's also people ruining their lives with gambling. People can't take that out of the equation.
Sure, but I don't know, man. You go to like Maryland Live or
gambling's like heroin to some people, man. It really is bad.
I get it, but like, I mean, look, if someone's making like $80K a year, they get their one paycheck for the weekend, they're going to be there for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Like where all that big money's coming from.
I mean, maybe it's just the reality that DC's got a lot of secret millionaires and a lot of money flying through, and people are going to go to the casino.
And it's 7 of the top 10 richest counties are the counties that surround the DC area.
I don't know about that many, but I think one of them, one of the highest.
Yeah, like Fairfax is really rich.
Yeah, I don't think it's 7 of 10. I was looking this up to try and figure it out, and it's like California has
the whole Chevy Chase area.
So Marin County is one of the richest counties in the entire country. I know that. That's right across the Golden Gate Bridge.
Is there a lot of gambling there?
No, it's Sausalito. It's all big.
It's Loudoun County, Falls Church, Santa Clara, San Mateo, Fairfax, Howard, which is in Maryland, Arlington, Virginia, Marin County, which is in California, Douglas County in California. So yeah, I mean it's not 7, but it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top 10.
So you're effectively right.
Or Maryland.
Fun fact:
Yeah.
the Golden Gate Bridge is it's still privately owned by a secret group of people.
What?
From
Is that right? The Golden Gate Bridge is owned by
I don't know if that's still the truth, but that was the truth for many, 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 many years. He has like a secret group of people from Marin County that actually.
Oh, in Marin County, you don't say.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
right.
right.
All right, we're going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends. Head over to timcast.com, click Join Us, become a member, so you can get access to the uncensored, members-only show.
It's worth the membership.
Join our Discord server. If you sign
Pretty
up
fun show.
for at least 6 months at $10 a month, you can call in. But if you want to call in even tonight or tomorrow, you got to sign up at the $25 a month level.
I'm not going to play that in the background.
After 6 months, you go back down or whatever you should be good.
That costs money.
We need
Be
to
a
figure out a
member.
way to keep the crazies and the
$10 a month.
like the swatters, the attackers, and the activists from screwing everything up and jamming us up. And
And that's not on YouTube, that's his other
and we're having
private
March
site.
5th, a live show. So this is in 1 month, live in Martinsburg, West Virginia, at our Cast Brew location, which will not be open at the time, but it will be on the 2nd floor of the building, our private club, not open to the public, members only. If you are a member, you will see the notifications pop up, and if you're in this, I mean, we're 1 hour from DC, basically, so if you're in them, 3 hours from Philly, 2 hours from Pittsburgh, an hour from DC, if you're in the area and you want to come check out the show, be a member, because I don't know at what point we will put up the tickets, but it may be like 2 weeks out or something like that, so sign up, support our work, really do appreciate it. And before we read Super Chats, I do want to give a shout out to our good friend, Taylor Lorenz, for one of the nicest things she could have possibly said in relation to my work. I was deeply moved. I saw an interview she did which said Tim Pool is dishonest, which shocked me until she explained in greater detail what she meant. She said Tim Pool does not do journalism. He comments on other people's work, and he is dishonest. And I went, oh, she's saying the news that I am reading from the New York Times and from the Wall Street Journal is fake.
Based.
But that's the gist of what she said.
Isn't that what most podcasts do? We look up current events and then call them.
But just sometimes when you say someone disagrees with, they'll call you dishonest, but you just don't agree.
But this is the point.
You're not lying.
She literally says in the interview, Tim Pool does nothing original. He just comments on other people's news, and he's dishonest. But
All right,
if I'm commenting
I'm done streaming.
on news,
Back tomorrow about the same time.
it's not my